Okay, folks, it's Jeff Landfield back here live in studio. Pretty cold outside. If you've been around anywhere in South Central or anywhere in the state, even, it's been very cold. Actually, if you follow me on social media, I did a drive with Senator Rob Myers Friday to Prudhoe Bay. It was supposed to be a 12-hour trip, and then I was going to fly back the next day and ran into a bunch of issues. There was a tanker situation. I'm going to have a video out pretty soon in an article, but it's been pretty cold around the state. So we have a really major kind of gas concern here in South Central, where they're taking gas out of the storage at a rate higher than normal, and a little worried about that. So that's not the point of this live stream, but I want to talk about that stuff later. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Let me just check something real quick here. Somebody's checking. Okay, great. Thank you. I just want to make sure that I haven't done a live stream for a little bit, so make sure everything's working. Before I start the live stream, I want to thank our sponsors, of course, John Quick on the Kenai Sports Independent Journalism. Thanks a lot, John, for being a great longtime sponsor. And of course, Ryan Sheldon with Talkeetna Landing up there in Talkeetna. If you want to get away for the weekend or for just during the week and you want to relax, do some biking, some hiking, just get, skiing, whatever you want to do, kind of check the mountain out, snowshoeing, whatever it is, get a hold of Ryan Sheldon at talkeetnalanding.com for a great experience. Starting at $99 a night, you can have a great time in Talkeetna. I love Talkeetna. If you've been in Talkeetna, you know how great of a place it is. So he's got these 2 cabins, and I really recommend checking those out and getting up there if you want to get away, if you're in Anchorage or Fairbanks, or just want to get a little time away in the weekend or maybe during the week. They're booking up. So go to talkeetnalanding.com. I want to thank Ryan Sheldon for being one of our sponsors. I want to talk about a few things today. I'm going to start with this is actually a few weeks old from the Assembly, and I've been so busy I haven't had time to get to this one yet. But I want to talk about an appointment Mayor Suzanne LaFrance made to the Anchorage Sister Cities Commission, which I'm a little bit familiar with because I was actually on that commission for 3 years, and I served as chair for more than a year. It's a great commission. I think the sister cities are important. It was a program started by President Eisenhower after World War II, and it was meant to kind of deploy citizen diplomats and connect cities and cities and countries throughout the world to basically it'd be a lot harder to have a war if we were all more connected, like a world war. We have 7 sister cities. They suspended the one with Magadan, Russia. Unfortunately, after Russia invaded Ukraine. I mean, I didn't like that because the whole point of this is to keep people connected and talking. And I think, suspending or eliminating some of these relationships it's like against the whole point of why the program was started. But we have Tromsø, Norway, Incheon, Korea, Chitose, Japan, Darwin, Australia, which I've been to when I was living in Australia. So there's a really good long-term kind of. Whitby, England's another one. They gifted us the statue of Captain Cook there in the 70s to celebrate the bicentennial. So Mayor LaFrance, Suzanne LaFrance, nominated or appointed, and she was confirmed, Tasha Boyer Dunbar, the wife of Senator Forest Dunbar, to the commission. And when I heard this, I was kind of like thinking, wow, that's interesting. I want to make sure this stream is working real quick here. Hold on one second. Let me just, okay, thank you. We're having an issue with the, making sure the video is working here. It looks like it's working. So she was appointed by Mayor LaFrance, to the commission. And the first thing I thought was like, oh my gosh, she was the one who bragged about when Putin and Trump met here in August. She got interviewed by somebody with like Rolling Stone or the BBC. And then she posted this on her Instagram account. It wasn't like she said something and then it was reported later. She posted this, and I'll show it to you, this Instagram post. Let me just pull this up here. So she posted this, and this is the article. We did Alaska State Senator's wife wishes death on Trump Putin. And she posted, or she's at the protest there, this big protest. And then she goes, one reporter, this is her post, okay? This is like what she posted. One reporter, what will you be thinking when Trump and Putin land in Alaska? Me, I hope the plane crashes. Reporter, which one? Me, why not both? And then she made another post. I can't believe I made a meme poster, and the BBC was asking me for foreign policy questions about a real world leaders. Anyways, here's my makeup. And then, Boyer Dunbar's husband, Senator Forest Dunbar, is currently on deployment in Poland with the Alaska Army National Guard. As of now, it's unclear if Senator Dunbar has seen Boyer Dunbar's post wishing death on both leaders or what his thoughts are on her explosive interview. Sometime late last night, this is back in August, Boyer Dunbar deleted the Instagram story featuring her inflammatory quote wishing for the planes of both presidents to crash. It's unclear if she had a change of heart or if somebody, maybe Senator Dunbar himself, requested her to remove it. As of this morning, Boyer Dunbar continues to post media coverage featuring herself. At yesterday's protest on her Instagram, there has been no apology issued or clarifications as to why she deleted her remarks. So that was back in August. I thought that was kind of wild. I mean, that just seems to me like really dumb to say and stupid. and then she gets appointed to this commission. So I was kind of wondering what's going to happen. Is she going to, because they have to vote on this. I mean, I was appointed by, it was Ethan Berkowitz, and mine was just totally, imagine me, mine was just totally no confrontation. It was just not an issue at all. I just went through automatically. There was no debate over it. So there was no drama with mine. But this one, this actually had some drama, and we're gonna play the most fascinating part is when Jared Gerker, some of the member Jared Gerker asked Mayor LaFrance about this. And so LaFrance appointed her. So you'd think she'd have an answer for this. She'd be ready to go with something. And it was actually remarkable just how unprepared she was to answer the question that Gerker asked. I mean, if you're going to do this, you need to be prepared to answer the question and justify it. So I'm going to just kind of play some of the reactions here, some of the interactions. This is from 2 weeks ago, the assembly meeting. So let's go ahead and watch this.
Next, we have item 10D31 AM 890-2025 Sister Cities Commission appointment. Tasha Boyer Dunbar. You pulled this item, Mr. Gerker.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve by Mr. Gerker, seconded by Ms. Baldwin Day. Mr. Gerker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the mayor available for comment? I know that I know she's not here right now, but is she able to, we're able to have a dialogue over the phone?
Mr.
Okay, no, she was gone. She ended up going to funeral for a family member, but she was on the phone. But just keep in mind, like she appointed Boyer Dunbar to the commission, so she knew these questions were coming. And I want you to just keep in mind about that when you're listening to her answer.
Mr. Chair, I am here. To Mr. Gerker, yes, we can have a dialogue.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, are you aware of reporting that your nominee publicly stated that she wished for a plane carrying the President of the United States to crash?
And Putin, but I guess nobody cares about that one.
Member Gerker, I am aware of the remarks that you referred to. Ms. Boyer Dunbar's remarks are very unfortunate, and I strongly disagree with those specific.
Very unfortunate. It's an interesting way to phrase that.
Remarks of that nature. However, she has stated she regrets those remarks and that she wants to contribute to our community in this volunteer role.
Here's the question. If she stated that, maybe she has. I've never heard that. I mean, this is what she stated when she did the interview. One reporter, what will you be thinking when Trump and Putin land in Alaska? Me, I hope the plane crashes. Reporter, which one? Me, why not both? That's what she posted. By the way, after we did this article, she blocked me. And at one point she did a post, I should find it, where she basically kind of calls me out and she kind of doubles down and then someone says, like, I'm the bad guy here. So just keep in mind, she posted that on her story. This is her doing this. This isn't like she said something to a reporter and maybe she didn't mean to have it on the record and then it was like put in the story later. This is what she posted herself. So I never heard her apologize. Maybe she did, but you'd think if she was going to, she would have come to the meeting and apologized.
And I would point out.
By the way, she wasn't at the meeting, or she didn't speak at the meeting. I think they even asked.
Out that she's highly qualified for the Sister Cities Commission. She speaks 4 languages. She is a Fulbright scholar, a Yale graduate, and a graduate of Chugiak High School. She works for an international.
One thing I've learned in my life is, like, the more titles people have, the more certificates or the more credentials or the more fancy. It's like usually, not always, but the worse they are generally. I mean, it's like all these credentials and titles and things. It's not always the best thing.
Business development organization. Again, I strongly disagree with those remarks. However, I don't believe that one mistake for which regret has been expressed should prevent someone from serving in this capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fair, but when did she apologize? I never saw her apologize. You'd think they would have. I mean, if I'm going to appoint somebody like that, like, it's going to be very clear to everybody in the public that I said, this person said something stupid. They're going to apologize very publicly. There's going to be no ambiguity about that. So let's keep going.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I appreciate that. At the time that you selected Ms. Dunbar, were you aware of the comments?
Got a little Q&A going here by Gerker. I like that.
I believe that I had heard about a social media post earlier in the year.
I mean, this is just crazy. If you're going to do this, have the answer ready. Be prepared to defend it. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I heard about, it's unfortunate remarks. It's like, just think, okay? Just think if this was like reverse, if it was Bronson, and Bronson actually had some kind of wild people he pointed to some things. And I mean, they went ham on him and some of his people. Nuts. A few weren't even, confirmed. So just reverse it. And this is my issue with some of this stuff. That's like the double standard that goes on with, who was ever kind of in charge at the time or whoever your team you're on or not on.
And when I went through the list, I was looking at resumes, and that was not something that was top of mind.
Yeah, of course not.
So, but generally you were aware that she said she hoped the President of the United States would die.
At the time it happened, I was aware, and I understand she expressed regret for those remarks.
I understand she expressed regret. Like, did she? I think we all deserve her to apologize as publicly as she did when she made the post, bragging about it.
Yeah, and thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate that. But do you believe that it is acceptable, and you kind of indicated you hadn't, but I just want to follow this thought through. Do you believe that it's acceptable for someone seeking a public role in a public office in this city to express hope for the death of an elected official, any elected official?
Ooh.
Member Gerker, clearly it is not acceptable for anyone to express that kind of ill will towards anyone.
Thank you,
That
ma'am.
was a
I appreciate
mistake.
that. But if it's not acceptable, why are you appointing her?
Uh-oh.
I guess at what point you
This is
mentioned.
a volunteer capacity. It is not an
Here's the crux of it, where she goes into basically, and you'll see some of the Assembly members talk about this. Apparently the kind of consensus is, or the conclusion is, if it's an unpaid, there's a whole different bar for what you can do and say compared to if it's paid, which I think is kind of wild. I mean, there's a reason these people have to get confirmed to these boards and commissions, because they want to make sure that if somebody's either unqualified or maybe a little out there, they can prevent that. But don't forget, I mean, there's 12 on the Assembly, 9 are very aligned with the mayor, so they don't want to, especially on something, this is like not a big deal, the Cities Commission, so there's like probably no reason for them to expose themselves or put themselves out there with her if they can avoid it. And you'll see what happens here in a bit with some of the other speakers.
elected public official role. It is not a paid role. If someone makes a mistake and takes responsibility and expresses regret for that, I believe this is an okay capacity here.
So the difference, Madam Mayor, just for clarification then, in somebody being allowed to make a statement wishing for the death of the President of the United States, it's not okay, but since she's not getting paid, it's a little bit okay? Is that what I'm hearing?
Kirker's got like a little bit of a little Clarence Darrow action going on here, a little cross-examination. I kind of like this. This guy's from Eagle River.
Member Gerker, this is not a productive conversation.
See, this is fascinating. It's like it's not productive. Well, she doesn't like the questions, so now she's like, well, we're not going to talk about it. She's like, I know I got the votes to get her through, so I'm just going to avoid talking to you about it.
If you have other questions that you have
Excuse
around
me,
this
we'll come to order in the
nomination, my
chambers.
chief of staff is available as well. If you have questions about process, perhaps.
This is so wild.
No, it sounds like you've answered it. It sounds like you're aware that your nominee wished for the death of the President of the United States, and it doesn't seem like that's a deal breaker, which is concerning to me, Madam Mayor. But I agree, this has not been a productive dialogue. Here's the deal.
Oh,
members of the
Perry
body,
Mason
my
action.
colleagues. This was not
Got a little Perry Mason action going on here by Mr. Gerker.
a leaked group chat where, maybe you say something you don't mean to say. This was not a overheard conversation at a coffee shop where there's maybe an expectation of privacy. This nominee made these statements to a news reporter whose sole purpose in hearing those comments was to report the damn comments.
And it's actually beyond that. Like I said, she posted this on her Instagram. One reporter, what will you be thinking when Trump and Putin land in Alaska? Me, I hope the plane crashes. Reporter, which one? Me, why not both? Okay? That's what we're talking about here.
This is so far beyond the pale of what is acceptable. And look at what is going on in our country. Look at
Why
what's
did
going
they?
on.
That's weird. They YouTube kind of partially blocked out death. Huh. Weird. Why would they? I mean, do that?
The political tension in this country right now is appalling. Just a couple months ago, we had a prominent conservative member of the conservative movement who was assassinated in cold blood over his political views. Now, I remember at that time, many members of this body publicly stated that it was wrong, that nobody should be hurt, there should be no political violence. There's no place for that in our political discourse. In fact, the chair and I went and did a podcast together, and we said the same thing, that there is no place for violence in our political process. There's no place for calling for violence in our political process. I do not care about whatever qualifications she might have as far as academics. When you call for the death of the President of the United States, you do not belong on a city boards and commissions, period, full stop. I will be a no. I urge my colleagues to vote no.
She did get.
We will come to order.
She did get confirmed. I mean, they did confirm her eventually. We're gonna watch some more of this. I mean, that's the main one though. It's like LaFrance. If it's me, if I'm mayor and I'm gonna put somebody like that, I mean, first of all, I would never do that. Like, I don't care who it is, what they, somebody said something like that, they aren't going to be on a board or commission. Now, she's the wife of Senator Forest Dunbar, so she probably has a little bit of, extra consideration or, a little bit of kind of inside special treatment. But if I'm going to do that, which I never would, but if I did, I'd have ironclad reasoning. She'd be at the meeting, publicly begging for forgiveness, saying how stupid it was and that, she emotions got to her and it was blah, blah, blah. That should have happened. It didn't happen. I don't think she was there. If she was there, she never came up and spoke. But the fact that LaFrance basically just is like, well, I heard about, maybe she said something. It's unfortunate, but it's unpaid. So what, that is just wild to me. Wild. Let's keep going.
Come to order. There's no clapping in the chambers. No acting unruly. The room is put on notice.
It's on notice. I just watched the Palmer City Council. I did a story a few weeks ago about this whole golf course situation and Colby Zirkle-Hickle, the city manager, and trying to fabricate some fucking thing with the FAA and the golf course and not extending the contract. I mean, you can read my column from a few weeks ago and talk about how wild this whole situation is, but man, people in Palmer showed up and they did their homework, and they brought the receipts, and it was so packed the meeting they had to go to the depot because there were so many people there. But it was like a lot of clapping, and I don't know, it was kind of loud. I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, at some point you don't want to get too unruly, but if you like what somebody said, this is like whole things went back to the whole mask mandate stuff, and nobody can clap, nobody can react. I think a little bit of clapping is no big deal, but they're pretty strict over there in Anchorage, the Anchorage Assembly.
Ms. Baldwin-Day.
Oops.
Thank you, Chair.
Now she's like a minister.
I find
Baldwin-Day, right? I think she's like a minister. So you think she'd be like
that.
This is not good. But
we're
she's
having
aligned
a conversation about.
She's aligned with LaFrance though, so let's see what she says.
Political discourse and disrespect and calling for people's death. Which, let's be very clear, I do not condone.
No, of course not. But
when that very same political tension.
Note the mental gymnastics here required to address the situation by Erin Baldwin-Day, who is, by the way, my assembly member, her and Felix Rivera.
Has been engineered and abetted and perpetuated by elected leadership.
Big words. Engineered, abetted.
At virtually every level of our country.
No, it's okay, I guess. It's okay.
This is not an isolated incident. And if you were to comb the social media of other individuals who have sat on this dais or who have served on boards and commissions in this city, you would find equally egregious comments made.
Everyone's doing it here. Everyone's saying these things.
The double standard is astonishing.
Is it? Wow.
Now, Now, I do not condone wishing harm or
Of
death or
course
ill
not.
or evil on anyone.
Of course she doesn't.
My faith does not permit that of me.
Yeah, no.
But what my faith does require is grace and accountability and an opportunity for people to own their wrongdoing and to do better.
But she didn't own it. I
Every
mean,
single
if
one
she
of us.
did, LaFrance and all these people would have been saying, "Hey, she apologized. She's sorry. She made a mistake." But she didn't. That I've seen. If she did, I welcome her to correct me and tell me where she said sorry and apologized.
Is a human being who makes mistakes. I would venture to guess that every single person on this dais and in this room has made flippant comments.
Let's go back here real quick. Here's her Instagram post, Boyer Dunbar. One reporter, what will you be thinking when Trump and Putin land in Alaska? Me, I hope the plane crashes. Reporter, which one? Me, why not both? I can't believe I made a meme poster and then the BBC was asking me foreign policy questions about real world leaders. Always, here's my makeup. Yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. That's what she'd said.
That they wish they hadn't made. And the only difference is some of us have made those behind closed doors, and some of us made a flippant comment to a reporter.
See, this is so funny. Made a flippant comment to a reporter. She's like leaving out that Boyer Dunbar posted this herself and bragged about it and was very excited about it.
That we are considering for appointment this evening is eminently qualified to hold this role. She is volunteering her time and her skills. She has been raked over the coals by this community, has received awful comments.
Because she said some really stupid, horrible shit. I mean, I say stupid I don't think I've ever said something like that. I mean, nothing to that level, of course not. But people, I say things, people don't like them, they come after me. You want to be on a commission, you want to be a public figure and be on this, Sister Cities Commission? Well, what do you expect's going to happen? People are going to like worship you? No, they're going to be critical of you based on things you said. Not that long ago, in August. This is like 5 months ago.
People who have wished her unborn child dead, people
4
who have
months ago.
wished that her husband dies in combat as a result of the comments that she made. I think she's paid her dues.
Oh, yeah, she paid her dues.
And in conversations with this potential appointee, she has expressed her very sincere regret and has stated that does not represent the kind of person that she is.
Okay, so it sounds like she may
or
have
the
told
kind of representative.
Baldwin Day she's sorry. Of course she's going to tell her. I mean, she needs the vote. But where's the public apology on the Instagram, just like she did when she was bragging about wishing that Putin and Trump's plane crash?
She would be for Anchorage on this particular commission. And given her resume, I tend to agree
Yeah, she's pissed.
and support her nomination because I believe that people can have their poor choices brought to bear, and they can move on. I will absolutely be supporting this nominee.
I'm not just going to support her. I'm going to absolutely
And I find it
support her.
disingenuous that we are holding a volunteer to a higher standard than our own elected officials. If we're going to do better, then let's all do better. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, boy. Woo.
All right, the queue is alive.
Okay, who's
Next, I have
next?
Mr. Volant.
Oh, Dr. Dan, my eye
Thank
doctor.
you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
He's on the phone.
Yes.
Thank you. So I want to acknowledge that the applicants or the appointees' comments were regrettable.
Regrettable, huh? Oh,
But I think
regrettable.
it is important
Not horrible, not just
to point out
unconscionable, regrettable.
that this is an appointment to the Sister Cities Commission.
So this must have been like coordinated beforehand. This must have been talked about. This is like the theme is it's an appointment, it's a volunteer, it's an unpaid. So therefore, like I guess the rope they're allowed to, the leeway they're given is just so extreme compared to if it's a paid. This must have been, this is like the theme. So this was either talked about beforehand or they heard LaFrance and they're like, well, let's just follow that lead of it's volunteer, it's unpaid. So You kind of say what you want if you're on our team.
I was the sponsor of suspending our sister city relationship with Magadan, Russia.
Mm-hmm. Didn't like that. I don't like that.
Because of
Read about
actions
why Eisenhower and why the Sister Cities program was started, and you'll understand why. I don't think that was a good idea.
of the Russian government and their invasion of the Ukraine.
I think Dan he's going to go with they actually did real violence. So that's worse than which is true, but it's like again, the gymnastics, your mental gymnastics required to justify these comments is kind of wild to watch.
So are words important? Do they have power? Yes, they do. But so do actions. And a member of the public expressing their frustration over
She wished their planes would crash.
heinous actions of the Russian government,
Maybe he's agreeing with her about Putin's
invading
plane crashing. Maybe that's
a
what.
democratic nation, killing civilians.
Democratic nation. I spent a lot of time in Ukraine. Very hyper. I mean, Ukrainian corruption kind of almost like makes Russian corruption look amateur. Democratic nation. Yeah. They haven't had an election. And when was the last election required? It was like 2 years ago. Zelensky there. We had elections during World War II. So did they in England.
Did she express that frustration in the best way? No.
No, of course not.
But to me, it pales in comparison to the actual actions that have been taken
We call this whataboutism.
by a foreign leader who visited our country. And so I just think we need to keep that in context.
Got to keep that in mind.
It is one thing to make a flippant remark. It is another thing to use power in such a way.
Man,
So
unlike
that being said-
LaFrance, Voland actually thought about this stuff a lot before because he showed up to go. LaFrance was like, I don't know. She said something. What are you gonna do? It's volunteer. I want to talk about it. Voland here and Baldwin Day, they at least thought about they had to think about. Hey, how can I best frame this to justify my vote here for this person, Boyer Dunbar?
I am going to be supporting this appointment,
Of course he is.
and I hope my colleagues will too. Thank you.
Of course he is. Next.
A number of folks still in the queue. I have next in the queue, Ms. Brawley.
Yeah, thank you. Just making a brief observation. It is interesting how much attention some things on our agenda get and how much attention other things don't get. There's often not a big correlation between the magnitude or the cost or the implications of an item versus the amount of testifiers, the amount of emails, et cetera. That's just how it is. It's also true
Okay.
that we are open to the public. So it looks like we have a very good and robust audience tonight. I appreciate you all showing up for that.
Well, they're there for I think some of them are here for this, but they're there for the sales tax, which comes up later. We're not going to talk about. I'll mention that, but this is what I want to talk about. Here in the live
And
stream.
it's also true that we often have proxy fights on our agenda, things where it is the thing that's being talked about and the real thing that is actually at issue is not actually the thing on the agenda. And lastly, I'll observe that often people compare politics to theater, or they'll use phrases like political theater. So again, I will thank everyone in the audience for coming to tonight's performance. And I will note that this
What?
meeting is being recorded and it is on YouTube. It can be live streamed. So
She's
I appreciate
mad.
folks who are making
boy.
additional recordings
She's mad.
of their own, but just to
She's
know that there is a
mad.
public
She's mad. The
recording.
Sister Cities. She's mad. This came up, and the people actually, are going to show up and they're concerned about it. She's not happy
And a
about
record
that.
of this meeting. Thank you.
So she didn't even really say anything about Boyer Dunbar at all. It's just like, well, you guys are here for a show. Okay, it's weird.
Mr. Rivera.
Oh, we got
Yeah,
Rivera.
thank
We
you,
got
Mr.
Felix,
Chair.
my other assembly member.
So a few quick comments from me. By and large, I think that consistency is important in how we address
Is it?
these
Really?
types of appointments.
Really?
And
Is it, Felix?
this is probably the point of the meeting where some of my colleagues' eyes glaze over because they'll have heard me say this so many times over the years. There are two criteria which I consider for every board and commission appointment, regardless of administration. One of them is qualifications. Does this individual have the qualifications to do the job which they are being appointed for?
Okay,
The
let
second
me be
bit
clear
is-
here. Let me be clear. I was on the Sister Cities Commission for 3 years. I was chair for over a year. Anybody can be on that thing. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, this whole thing about qualifications. Okay, you're not like. I mean, maybe budget advisory commission. There needs to be at least some understanding of like how the budget gets put together, some finance background, planning and zoning, or maybe there's like at least some kind of like. It's a fucking Sister Cities Commission, okay? Like this is not okay. We're not talking about something that important.
Would appointment of this individual do harm to the specific board or commission for which this individual is being appointed? And, you know, Member Baldwin Day brought up some a great comment regarding other nominees to boards and commissions. I think one needs to only go back a few years to see other nominees from the prior administration that were brought forward.
Let's run
And
over
if
all this.
one,
Where's the vote?
Distribution and even death. And so I think,
This is
taking
Yarrow Silver. She's a
I think
yes.
one way to show
here's,
that she
Fleet Green, I
wants to
think.
give back to this community and
There's Craig
demonstrate
Taylor.
that she
former
does
AG
have
Craig
regret
Taylor
for this is, frankly, by sticking her neck out and entering the fray yet again.
So like they keep saying this. She's apologizing. She's sorry. She's gonna expose herself to this. Like, well, then she should apologize at the meeting if they really cared about this shit.
To take a volunteer appointment is that is one way.
Don't forget,
that
this is the new
each
standard.
Of us,
If it's volunteer, don't forget. If we ever have like a conservative mayor or somebody else, and they put somebody on there who said something they don't like, if it's volunteer, it's okay. There's no rules here. Anything goes. If it's volunteer, if it's not paid.
if we are willing, can demonstrate that we understand, maybe we said something, as the mayor said, she does not agree with and recognizes is inappropriate, but are willing to make up for it through volunteer service.
For sure, and I believe what Member Baldwin Day said of
Keith McCormick now.
forgiveness and grace. I'm moved. Is the appointee here to step into the fray
Boom.
and
Boom. Nope.
apologize for the comments? I don't
Nope.
see any, so, all right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Martinez.
Oh, we got George here. This should be good.
Thank you, Chair. So with the previous appointment to the LURSA board, I expressed the way I approach deferring to administrations in the face of even oppositional voices from the community. And here we are again with a situation from my vantage point that just from a candidate's perspective.
Martinez is a guy who will say 30 words when like 7 will do. Just think about that. This guy says so many extra words and big words, and he just really overdoes it here with the language.
The mayor is advancing a candidate, and aside from a germane issue to people's sensibilities of comments and political discourse, the resume is what I think
The resume.
people
Big, lot of resume,
from
a
my
lot of
vantage
check
point are
boxes on the
looking
resume.
at with respect to appointments.
See, he could have just said,
So that
we're looking at somebody. I looked at a resume. It looks good, but it's like 10 times as many words as
the
that are
appointment essentially is based on qualifications at the resume level. And now, having said that, I'll just put on the record. That's a very dumb thing to say. And I hope that the candidate is listening, that at a certain point in the maturity of being in the public, it requires a certain discipline and a certain ability to
Oh my God.
be a part of the bigger picture, even if your emotions are so raw that it would lead you to say some dumb things, ignorant things, foolish things, hurt, hateful things.
Yeah, I mean, at least he's calling the
But
comments
there
kind
lies
of what
that
they are.
opportunity again, from
More
my
so than
vantage
the
point,
others.
following a rubric. I will not try to overanalyze every single appointment unless things flare up to the point that is detrimental to the appointment itself.
Like when he talks, I almost
I don't see that
when
here
Martinez talks,
with
I almost like
respect
lose what he's saying because there's like so many words and he just kind of drones on. It's hard to even follow what he's trying to say.
to why this person is being appointed. I do want to just recognize that from the administration's perspective, you are advancing a candidate, and the due diligence around the opposition, around
The fuck is he saying?
the
I can't
justification.
take
I
this
think
guy.
is
I can't take this
they
guy.
appear.
He's still going.
I believe in.
That I
Wow.
find worrisome
Here's Zach
and
Johnson.
concerning as well.
He's
Because if
concerned.
we want to
He's
have
very
a free
concerned.
society, if we want to be comfortable engaging with each other, to disagree, to do so in ways that are vocals
No
and
mustache.
occasionally
Damn.
may become passionate, I think we do need to have that measure of grace to realize that we can say something, we can regret it, we can apologize for it,
Okay,
and
well,
it does not necessarily need
Not sure when she apologized. If she did, it wasn't public. But she did publicly stay on her Instagram. One reporter, what will you be thinking when Trump and Putin land in Alaska? Me, I hope the plane crashes. Reporter, which one? Me, why not both? Okay. Just remember that. Let's go back to Zach Attack here.
impact the rest of our lives moving forward. I mean, it's clear from this candidate's resume that she
The
worked
resume.
very hard
It's
in
the
her career to
qualifications.
distinguish herself,
It's the resume.
to build up the sort of background and qualifications that I think we would want to see serving on a
It's like
commission
they,
like
they,
this.
they like talk about this resume and these qualifications. It's like it's the Sister Cities Commission. Okay, I was on the thing for 3 years. I was a chair. It's not a big deal. The resume. It's like what? You got to see some of the beauties that were on that thing when I was on there. Gee, like, this is like crazy to me.
And so for that, I think that I would not be inclined to say that one ill-advised remark, as detestable as it might have been, is enough to undo all of
people-
that hard work in my mind.
people
And
say
I think that
stuff.
is a measure of grace
Okay.
I would extend to this candidate as well as others. I've
Okay.
been on this body across 2 administrations now, and like some of my colleagues, I have generally
Next.
Against a elected official
Here's Gurker.
Pathological liar into a position.
Ooh,
to point
oh, what
Donald
do we
Trump
got?
to the Anchorage.
Oh yeah, yeah. There
Sister
was
Cities
somebody else who
Commission.
basically was like, "Well, Trump says crazy shit, so like therefore, like this is okay."
We can have a conversation about some of his comments if we want, but he's not before us right now. It's Ms. Dunbar. She's the one who's made the comments as recently as August that she hopes that the President of the United States would die in a plane crash. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Oh,
All right, I have myself in the queue.
so we got Chris Johnson coming up now.
So I have a number of kind of points to roll around and get to the point as directly as I can. I thank Mr. Gurker also, like Mr. Johnson did, for bringing this forward, because I do think there's room for conversations about disagreements and civility and all of these things. In fact, it's an important exercise for us to do. I do take a little umbrage with the framing of the previous administration and revisionist history, because I voted to confirm a pathological liar into a position that did great harm to this
Oh, that's a
municipality
Joe-
based
Joe-
on trust.
That's that Joe. Ger-
And after that,
He's talking about that Joe Gerace beauty they put in charge of the health deal. That was not a good one.
I stopped
Bronson's
trusting
guy.
because I took what I think was the worst vote of my entire life, because it harmed people. And so I'll say that my process changed and became more scrutinous after.
Okay.
I'll also say, Mr. McCormick, I thank you for finding grace, because I think that is what is in order in this conversation. I can tell you, it might surprise some people, that I have said some pretty stupid things. Really stupid. And I have, it's true, I concede. and have managed to survive and get through it and continue to serve my community. Some may think not well, some think well. So
Chris has had some like wild shit, but he has like apologized, very publicly apologized for it. We don't know about Boyer Dunbar here. I've never seen an apology other than they've all said she is sorry, but she didn't come to the meeting. She didn't say it publicly that I ever saw.
An example of why there is room for us to proceed. Now, it's been asserted that this was said latest in August, and it was one time. This wasn't a pattern of behavior that we've seen a number of times. And so, and I won't dive back onto the punishable by death, seditious, because I think you make a good point. That person is not here before us, although I think the spirit of that person is right here with us.
That's Trump stuff. That's Trump.
So, Mr. Kirk, I also appreciate that you kind of brought in the conversation about the leaked chats, because you said this isn't a leaked chat, this was a conversation with a reporter, but I will say it is also like the leaked chats. And I will say that there were 2,900 pages of Telegram messages from one set of our population that made jokes about the Holocaust and anti-Semitism, contained racism, homophobia, called for violence.
That's the horrible Republican back then when the young Republicans said all this crazy shit.
It's rape, pro-Nazi, references to gas chambers, demeaning racial stereotypes, misogyny, all of it. It was all there, right? So that was what I think you're referring to. And what was amazing was we were on the radio, just finishing that effort, which I still owe you one, go on Amy's show, to do the counter to that.
Amy the Domboski, the narcissist, sociopath, sue-happy lunatic, Amy Domboski, who is an absolute fucking lunatic, psycho. I can't believe, he's like friends with her somehow. It's wild to me. Amy Domboski is a narcissistic, sociopath, sue-happy lunatic, who, by the way, hired Scott Kendall to sue the city they tried to give her like $500,000. Luckily, somebody blocked that. Then LaFrance came in there and she decided to agree to give her $250,000 for calling a coworker a cunt during a work meeting. Wow. I thought conservatives believe you can hire somebody or fire somebody, that's the freedom to do that. But unless you're Amy Domboski, you hire Scott Kendall to sue the city and get $250,000. That's interesting. Psycho.
But the idea there, we were talking about, and then this 2,900 text thing happened right then. It was
okay. Get a little bored.
Quite surprising.
So this is
AM 899
There's the vote.
Scale
Let's
probably.
watch the vote.
And
it was
a vote of 8-2 in the youth member votes.
So we got McCormick, and I think it was a Gerker were no.
Yes.
Yes, AM 890-2025 has passed the body. Next, we have item 10.
Okay, well that's that. So that's wild to me. That's just the mental gymnastics required to justify her comments. Again, that she very publicly put on Instagram that I hope the plane crashes. Why not both of them? And then was like, oh my God, the BBC asked me about my opinions about foreign policy, and I'm wearing my makeup and I'm very excited about it. She did that. Okay, and then there's all these talk of this public apology, which I've never seen, and it's pretty wild. So, okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is the Anchorage Assembly meeting is meeting right now as we speak. I just got a text. Apparently they're maybe talking about me, and I guess it's about this kind of nonsense about changing the city seal, which I think is stupid. The designs don't look good. They're ridiculous. There's a reason the Alaska flag and the New Mexico flag are very popular because they're clean. It's very simple. But I don't think we should be changing the seal at all because we have crime problems, homelessness problems, revenue problems, fiscal problems, snow plowing problems. We have myriad problems in our city. And they're spending all this time on the seal. Okay? Big picture, it's not that big of a deal, but it just seems dumb to me to be talking about changing the seal in the midst of all these problems. So they put out this poll, this survey, and they said, vote to, there's 5 options. And I said, which other people had said, as well, just option C, keep the seal the way it is. Don't change it. We don't got to change, paper and overtime vehicles and all this stuff. So the landmine, I shared it and said, the landmine encourages everybody to vote for C, keep the seal. And I had seen other people posting about it. This is last week. And it was, I think the 10th. It was the evening of the 10th. I put this in my Sunday column. And it kind of took off. It got many shares. There was 300 or 400 reactions on Facebook, Twitter. It kind of blew up a little bit. People were sharing it and talking about it. A bunch of people texting me. I just voted to keep the seal. And then, so 2 days later, a day and a half later, there's an article in the public media about how that Chris Constant talked about how there was thousands of, in a short period of time, votes that there were similar responses about, like, because there's a remark section where you can put like a reason. I think a lot of people said like save money, this is stupid, whatever. And so they basically shut down the poll and said that there was a corruption or there was some kind of interference, election interference, it sounds like. And then they shut it down. So I joked in my Sunday column, stop the steal. And they're supposed to vote tonight on this situation. And I don't know if that was just an advisory. I don't think they're going to actually go by, but at this point they've called it into question. They've said, oh, there was some kind of interference, or there was some, even the IT guy was like, well, the city IT guy was, I can't say that there was interference, or I can't say that there was some manipulation, but it seems like plausible this happened. So I don't know. I think what happened is the landmine shared it, and then other people shared it, and it kind of organically took off, and a lot of people voted to keep the seal, and they thought they were going to get one of, maybe their options, which there was like 5 options. I don't like any of it. I mean, it just seems to me like, if you're going to do this, hire, like, maybe do a contest and say, hey, submit your idea for the seal. Submit a new, like Benny Benson did the Alaska flag. He took the Big Dipper. Great idea. Simple, iconic, timeless. It looks great. New Mexico, the Zia symbol. Really nice. Just simple, boom. So I don't know, like, why they've spent this time on this. I don't know where this came from. It's like some of them have this like indigenous, they want to, like, this whole, like, worship the indigenous people. They wanted to, like, I guess that was like the impetus for some of this. I just think there's so many problems in our city, mainly homelessness, vagrancy. Okay. We have serious energy problems. Right now it's cold. There's crime problems. There are fiscal, there's talking about a sales tax right now. But the main problem is the homelessness and the zombies that just kind of walk around and run roughshod over our city and do whatever they want and don't really have any consequences. Like, solve that, address that, deal with that. Make sure the roads are ready to go when it snows. Plow the roads. Make sure, the city is functioning properly. Then I'm happy to talk about the seal, okay? But this is crazy to me. So they're meeting right now. I just got a text from somebody that was saying, you need to watch this. They're kind of, somebody sent me another message here. They're going after me. Weird. I got to go watch that. I haven't, turn that down. So that's, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm almost, I haven't seen anything. I haven't watched it yet, but I'd be shocked if they voted to keep the seal, because it seems like their whole thing was like picking one of these. I think I can pull it up. I'll give you the options here. Let's see here. Let me pull up my Sunday column. We can show the options of the seal. I should have had this ready to go. Let's see here. Governor Dunleavy's budget. I should talk about that. I should do a live stream on that. So here are the options. Here are the 5 options. So here's 1. That's just way too busy. This is just like, oh my God, it's like way too much. Here's 2. That's keep it. That's the original seal. Here's these other ones that are like, some of them have the ship and the plane. Some of them get rid of the ship. Some of them just have the anchor. I mean, this first one is like, holy shit. It's just like, it's like hard to even look at that. There could have been a really cool new seal if they were going to do it. But instead, like, they came up with this shit. I don't, like, this is not exciting. This is not good. So that's what Anchorage is working on right now. The Anchorage Assembly is the seal. So next thing I want to talk about is the Senate minority just elected Mike Cronk as their new minority leader. And this is very interesting because Senator Shower resigned, Senator Hughes resigned, running for governor, Shower lieutenant governor with Bernadette Wilson, Hughes governor. So Shower was a minority leader, so of course they have to elect a new minority leader. Now, I thought it was going to be Rob Myers, just because Rob wanted to be a minority leader last time. He became the whip, which, I mean, frankly, the minority whip, you have Ruffridge over there in the House. A whip's supposed to be like whipping votes. There's not really a need to whip votes. I mean, you whip votes in the majority because you have to pass things. So I've just never, it's more of just a reason to have a title and be in leadership. But I thought it was going to be Myers because, of course, it's not going to be Tilton or Rauscher because they're brand new to the Senate. It's not going to be Kaufman. I just don't see Kaufman doing that. Rob Yunt, also pretty new to the Senate. Also kind of, I like Rob a lot, but fairly loose, but new to the Senate. And then you have Cronk, who's on, and Kaufman as well are on finance, and then Cronk's on finance. So I figured, well, Myers is like the choice here on this deal because 2 guys are on finance, Cronk and Kaufman. It's not going to be Rob Yunt, a bit loose, but also new, and then Kathy Tilton and George Rush are brand new. So, but then I put this out there last week, and I said something like, Landmine predicts Rob Myers will be the new minority leader, and then it turns out, and then I started hearing some kind of chatter last week about, maybe there's a dispute, maybe it's 3-3. You need of 6 people in the minority, you need 4 votes, right? So there was like a split. They couldn't get decide on the minority leader. That's why they kind of waited. Then they announced Cronk. So what's interesting here is the Senate minority basically has the same issue going on as the House minority. Extremely split over ideological reasons and other issues like education, the governor overriding the governor's veto of the education funding and other things. So what's going on in the Senate, I think, is you got Rob Yunt, James Kaufman, and Mike Cronk are aligned. And again, they voted for the budget. Cronk actually voted to override Dunleavy on the education, which I think is fine. I mean, I don't think there's any problem with that, but the governor probably does. And the minority, is supposed to be more aligned with the governor over the majority. That's just kind of how the things are structured right now. So you got Yunt, Kaufman, and Cronk, and then you got Tilton, Rauscher, and Myers over there, right? So you have a split. Now, what I heard, and this is kind of wild. This is actually pretty wild. So I figured, okay, if it's going to be Cronk, then he would give up the finance seat because, finance meets a lot. They're meeting all the time in the morning. They have afternoon meetings or finance subcommittees. But I mean, finance is pretty busy. So, to be a minority leader, it's not the biggest thing because you're in the minority, but, there is some stuff to do and there's some meetings and there's some leadership things and, kind of strategizing. So I figured if it was going to be Cronk, then he would go off the finance committee and maybe give his seat to somebody else. Maybe they'd reorganize, because, Kathy Tilton used to be on finance in the House. Maybe they're going to reorganize because they're going to have to do a committee on committees anyways, because you got Schauer and Hughes are gone. You got, Tilton and Rauscher in there now. So I figured, okay, he's going to go off finance if he's going to be a minority leader. No, he's staying on finance, Cronk, and he's minority leader. So now the option could have been, if Tilton and Rauscher and Myers were really upset, they could theoretically leave the minority, and then there wouldn't be a minority anymore because you have to have at least 5 in the Senate. Even if one were to leave, then they would lose a seat on the finance committee. But then what I heard was that they, the Yunt, Kaufman, Cronk group said, well, if you guys do that, then we have guarantees from the majority. Sounds like Senator Stedman, that even if you guys do that, we'll still maintain our seats on finance with Cronk and Kaufman. So it sounds like the 3 kind of members on the Cronk side made a deal or talked to the majority and told Myers, Tilton, and Rauscher, checkmate. Which, I mean, the Senate generally is more well-behaved. I mean, we saw years ago when it was kind of Kiesel and Machicky and the majority, and you had the rogue kind of members of the Valley members and kind of Mia and this guy, Roger Holland, Mike Schauer, Shelley Hughes. They didn't have enough votes to pass a budget, so they had to kind of work with the Democrats. But even then, they kept it quiet. The Senate's a little bit better. I mean, the House is just crazy. It's like very public, especially with the minority. The majority has had problems it's kind of more known. It's just the House is way more loose. So now you have a situation where there's a split in the Republican minority in the Senate. And I don't know what's going to happen, but it doesn't sound great. There's some hurt feelings, probably some. I mean, George and Kathy thought they were getting out of the crazy, and they did because the House is crazy. But now they're in a whole other situation where they have this minority of 6, and it's very divided 3-3, just like we have the House minority of 19, but it's kind of split like 10-9. There's still 2 seats up that appointments from Rauscher and Tilton's seat that the governor has to vote to replace them, and then they have to get confirmed by the House Republicans. So, you got two minorities right now, Republicans, that are very divided, and I'm not sure how it's going to shake out. Session starts in just over a month on January 20th, and anything could happen in the House or the Senate with the minorities. And then you have, the governor just came out with his budget, which if you follow the Alaska Political Report, I put a little bit of that in our Sunday column. Neil Steininger just came out with yesterday a very extremely detailed breakdown of the governor's proposed budget by department, by statewide, like the dividend, HFC, ADA, all of PCE, every kind of change. And it's basically, the budget itself is more or less flat, but there has been some kind of notable changes within the budget. But the kind of high level is he's again proposing to spend half the savings for the dividend, because the dividend would cost about $2.3 billion. And then another $300 million to make up for supplements in 2026, the current year's budget, for things like disaster and fire, some of the things that he vetoed. So they have to get paid for. We had some fire stuff. We had obviously the hurricane, the typhoon, Halong in Western Alaska. So there's a combination of kind of those things, plus the revenue forecast was reduced by a couple. The price of oil was 68. It's down to 65. So it's down a few bucks. So that's, about every dollar is about 35 million. So we're looking at a deficit of 300 million, around 300 million for the current year. So the supplement for 2026 is they're going to have to go into the savings for that. I mean, there's nowhere else to get it. So that's a 3/4 vote. And then next year, the governor is proposing to basically spend 1.5 billion for next year's dividend, and then 300 million. So that's like 1.8 billion out of what's left of $3 billion. $3 billion is left in the CBR. So this is crazy. This is not going to go anywhere. The legislature will deal with that. Who knows what the dividend will be? If you had no dividend, you'd have about an $800 million surplus at the current spending level. I think we need to spend more on things like, I just drove the Hall Road. The Hall Road is like very fucked up. It needs a lot of work. There's salaries. There's a variety of things that we could be doing in the state. We could build things. We could build, power generation plant. We could, build Watana, maybe a coal-fired plant in Healy to help with our energy problems. There could be all kinds of things the state could be doing to make life better for people. And instead, it's just this dividend thing. We've spent I think over $8 billion in dividends in the last 7 years. Or 8 years, I can look up the exact, I think it's since 2019, $8 billion, which is just an insane amount of money. Think about what we could do. The Kinnick Bridge, that would be a great thing for housing for Anchorage. I mean, you could, power generation. You could do the second Douglas Crossing, which would be great for Southeast. I mean, there's all kinds of things we could be doing, but we just fight over the dividend. So the governor didn't even have a press conference. Normally he does a press conference, takes questions. He didn't do that. He released a video, and then he's talking about there's a concept of a fiscal plan he's going to release in January, which, he's got 1 year left, and frankly, things aren't great, and things haven't gone well. The only thing he has maybe going for him is the gas line, if that can get put through. But that's going to be, if that goes through, that's going to be all because of Trump. That's 100%. And I hope it happens. I really do. I give it a 40% chance only because Trump's so on board, and maybe he can leverage and force the Asians, the Japanese, the Koreans, the Taiwanese, the Thai to spend the money on the take-or-pay contracts to make sure this thing gets built. But it's going to take a huge amount of money from the federal government to make this happen. It's $44 billion. That's the estimate from 10 years ago. It's probably more like $60 billion. I hope it happens. I really, really, really do, because we have an energy problem in the state, an affordability problem. We have a supply issue right now where it's very cold in South Central. They're sucking out gas out of the Singza, out of the storage, and I don't know how things are going to be if it stays cold for a long time, or once we get to March and April when it's still cold, and if there's a shortage of gas, what are we going to do? It's crazy to me. So Dunleavy has some kind of fiscal plan, which to me the fiscal plan is nonsense. I hate that term. I think it's stupid. Basically, you want a fiscal plan? Here it is. Get rid of the dividend or reduce it to very low. Get rid of the dividend. Don't spend money on stupid shit, and institute a broad-based tax like a state sales tax. Which, by the way, when people come to the state, these 2 million people that come to the state doesn't get any money from them, save the vehicle rental tax, which is like $10 million. Now communities get money. Ketchikan, Juneau, Fairbanks, they have sales taxes. Fairbanks, the Matsu Valley, they have sales taxes. The state doesn't get anything from all these visitors, money-wise. I guess there's a gas tax. A lot of that goes for the roads, and then there's a vehicle rental tax. So let's say if they build the gas line, for example. Think about this for a second. They build the gas line, right? You're going to have a shit ton of people move here. Workers, there's going to be a boom. There's going to be all this money being spent. Okay, let's say if 10 or 20 or 30,000 people move to Alaska. What does that mean? Well, the state has more obligations. More money on schools, more money on public safety, more infrastructure, all of these things, right? Well, who's going to pay for that? The state doesn't get any more money if 20 or 30,000 people move here because of this. Let's say the gas line gets built. It's a totally, even the most red states either have a broad-based income tax or sales tax to kind of fund stuff. So you want a fiscal plan? Maybe you start by acknowledging that the incentives of the structure, the kind of way our government is set up and the way our fiscal policy works is we basically rely on the permanent fund draw, the POMV, which is 5%, which is too high, by the way. That's why the fund's not really growing, because every year 5% gets sucked out to pay the POMV. And then oil, which is great. It's been great for our economy. It's been great for our state, but the price is on the downward trajectory. Now, maybe it could go up. Maybe something crazy could happen. It could go up. We've seen that before. Just give us another oil boom. We won't piss it away. But we have two things. We have the permanent fund, and that's kind of capped because we're sucking out 5% every year in oil. Everything else is like you add the rest, all of it in mining and rental tax, vehicle, this, sale, licenses, business. It's like nothing. It's like nothing. It's two things. It's a permanent fund draw, POMV draw, and oil. We have a massive influx of people. We don't. Those two things don't increase. But the obligations, the state pays the BSA for they just increased it. The legislature, $6,600 per student. We get 5,000 more students. Guess what? There's a whole bunch of more money we need to spend. So, I mean, if the plan is just continue to decline, continue to manage our decline, and just people keep leaving, then I guess that's a plan. I mean, that's one plan that I don't like, that I think is stupid. But I mean, that's the plan. That's the only way you could justify our current fiscal setup in our state is we hope people leave, and we don't build anything, and we don't address our structural problems like energy, education, infrastructure. Okay, this is what's happening in the state. It's not good. It's not good. We're down to $3 billion in savings. Keep in mind, in the Walker years, when the price of oil dropped down to like 30, and before the POMV, deficits were in the $3 billion plus range, $3 to $4 billion a year in 1 year. So if shit goes down and there's a big market crash, down the road, there's going to be less money to draw from the permanent fund. Let's say the oil price of oil goes down. There's something going on in the commodities markets. We could be down. I mean, we could easily. This is like not even crazy. We could easily be in the $1 to $1.5 billion deficit range with a zero dividend if something crazy happens. Okay, these things happen. We saw oil during COVID at below zero. We also saw oil go to over 100 when Russia invaded Ukraine. So it's like, what's the plan? The plan is, I guess, just kind of. I mean, for Dunleavy, it's like, well, he's going to be gone in a year. He's out. So no matter how crazy it gets in the next year, he's gone. He can't run again. So somebody else is going to have to tackle it. It's really, really kind of wild how just screwed up our state is. And I talk about it all the time. And I just wish I could do something. I wish we could do something, but we can't because this is who's running this. I mean, the legislature, they have checked him on some of the crazy spend the money, spend the CBR, spend the earnings reserve. But I mean, to be honest, I mean, they have their problems too. I mean, they were the ones who, under Parnell and then Walker, they were the ones who started spending all the savings. We had like $18 billion in savings 10 years ago, 11 years ago. Now it's down to 3. So, it's like, it's not all on Dunleavy. I mean, I don't think he's done a good job. I think he's not helped, but I mean, it predates him. He was in the Senate before that, but he wasn't ever in leadership. So this is the biggest problem we have, I would say, is we just have a lot of people in the state who want free money and don't want to pay any tax and are pissed off. And also they want things. They want roads and they want infrastructure and they want good schools. But they also say, don't tax me and give me the fucking money. Give me the dividend. Massively perverse incentives happening in our state. And few public officials or few candidates, none really running for governor, are talking about. I've never heard anybody. They beat around the bush. They kind of acknowledge, oh yeah, but they're very hesitant to really talk about it because it's tough, But sometimes leaders need to lead. I hear this all the time from these like elected officials. I got to vote with my district. I just got to take a vote. I got to vote with my district. A long time ago, I read Nelson Mandela's book, Long Walk to Freedom. And one of the biggest lessons from that book was after apartheid, after he got released from jail, after it all ended, a lot of blacks in South Africa wanted revenge. And hell, I don't even blame him. Score settling, civil war, retribution, all this stuff. And he knew that was bad because it would have made things worse. And in the book, he said it's a very clear passage, vividly remember it. You know, sometimes a leader needs to lead, and sometimes the people are wrong, and it's up to a leader to explain to them why they're wrong and let the leader lead. And to me, that's like the biggest blueprint for what it means to be an elected official, to be a leader, is to, when the people are wrong, when there's a misconception, or when there's bad information, or when they want to do something crazy, you have to explain to them why they're wrong and be a leader. This idea that, well, I have to vote with my district. I mean, many people have told me, oh, I should vote this way, but if I won't get reelected, so I have to vote this way because that's what my district wants. Well, maybe you could tell your district why they're wrong and explain they elect you to be a leader. They elect you to go down there and make these decisions. And we have too much of, what can I do? You know, gotta follow my district. Gotta vote my district. If that's the case, why don't we all just vote on everything? Why do we need to send people to the legislature? We just put them up. We put them up. We all vote. Direct democracy. They do that in Switzerland. These cantons. So let's just do that. I mean, why send people? Why spend all this money on the legislature if we can we all vote ourselves? We all figure it out. Look at how dumb these ballot initiatives are. How many of these ballot initiatives that get passed, or that they're so convoluted because people don't have time to, like, we send people to Juneau. We elect the governor and send people to Juneau to represent us. That's the whole point of the whole thing. And when it doesn't operate the way it's supposed to, all this stuff happens that we have right now in our state. So, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm getting mad. I'm getting high blood pressure here. But I do want to thank everybody for watching. I want to again thank our sponsors, Jonathan Quick from the Kenai Peninsula. Jonathan supports independent journalism. John Quick, really, really appreciate that. And of course, Ryan Sheldon, Talkeetna Landing. If you want to get away, do a little cabin starting at $99 a night. Get down to Talkeetna, snowshoeing, check out the mountain, Denali, Mount McKinley, whatever you want to call it. Want to relax a little bit, take a hike, snow machine, cross-country skiing, whatever you want. Go to talkeetnalanding.com and check that out. I really hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Last month, I was in Florida visiting some family. It was amazing. It was 80 degrees. I really wish everybody the most Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going to New Mexico. My mom turned 75 on December 19th. I turned 41 on December 21st, so I'm coming up. So I'm going there for a quick one, just for 6 days, and I'll be back. So I want to thank you all for watching the live stream. Thank you all for supporting. And folks, if you like what I'm doing here, Landmine, please consider going online and making a one-time or monthly recurring donation, even if it's $5 or $10. I really appreciate it. It's asklandmine.com/subscribe. If you have an organization, a business, a campaign, whatever, please consider buying an ad on the website. I'm going back to Juneau in a month, on January 17th. I'll be down there for the session reporting on the legislature. We're going to be doing all kinds of reporting, debates on next year on the assembly races, on the governor's race, on the U.S. House race, U.S. Senate race. We're going to do Election Central again, like we did last year. It's going to be a big year, a lot going on. So if you like the Landmine, if you like what I do, if you like the live stream, if you like the podcast, if you like the website, like the articles, please consider making a one-time or monthly recurring donation to asklandmine.com/subscribe. And if you want to sponsor the podcast or the live stream, get a hold of me. I can share that information with you. I really appreciate it. Again, folks, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I wish you all the best, and I will see you. I'll be back I'll be doing a live stream before the end of the year, so we'll do a little New Year's before New Year's live stream. But again, I want to thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next Landmine Live. Thanks, folks.